I will be setting up 2 separate campaigns. Campaign number 1 is going to be our control campaign. In that campaign, I'm going to be using our standard best practices for running campaigns. Campaign number 2 is going to be the campaign that is run by ChatGPT. And I'm going to be taking all of its suggestions, doing it whatever it says I should do. I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to try hard to keep my prompts as neutral as possible without trying to feed it information or guide it in any way. After 7 days, we're going to see which campaign is performing better. So today is day 1. What I'm going to be doing today is campaign setup. I'm going to be limiting this to broad match only. So I'm only going to be running broad campaigns. All right. So here is the product that I'm going to be running these campaigns for. You can see though that this listing is pretty high quality. It's got a good rating. It's got a decent amount of reviews and it's selling pretty well. Here you can see this is the control campaign. And over in this tab here, I have the ChatGPT driven campaign. I set the daily budget at $10. This is our standard practice. We start off at 10 and go up from there as needed. And then I have bids down only. This is also our standard practice for really all campaigns. Now, I know that this can be a little controversial, but we have found in our experimentation that down only gives us the most efficient PPC, which is what we're going for. Profitable, efficient campaigns. And then I have no multipliers in placements. That's intentional. If we feel like we need to do that at a later time, we can. We typically reserve this for exact match though, but we'll see how it goes. This right here at the bottom, this is actually a relatively new setting from Amazon. And I actually recommend that you change this to limit off Amazon spend. The default is to increase reach, but there's not really a lot of control over where that reach goes or what it looks like or what audiences it delivers to just in the standard sponsored products ads. All right. So in here, you can see that this is pretty standard. It's active. The default bid is 74 cents. I'm actually going to change that to 2 cents. We do this as a standard practice in all of our campaigns, just in case something goes wrong and things get reset to the default bid. We wouldn't want it to spend more than we intended, so the safest bet is to put it at the lowest possible bid, which is 2 cents. Let's go to targeting. You'll see this is a broad match campaign. Now, what we typically use broad match for is keyword discovery, and you'll see that the keywords that we have selected will reflect that. Here you can see we have 290 broad, what we call seeds, or keywords in this campaign. You'll notice we have a lot of sort of similar looking keywords. So basically, we've identified that people use these for yogurt and other things too. But then they also use different synonyms to call a spoon. For example, utensil, teaspoon, tea space spoon, spoon, all of these different ways that people might be searching for this product. Not every single one of these 290 terms is going to actually deliver or even get impressions. And that's okay. We know that. It's definitely going to be the 80-20 rule in play. The other thing to note here is that one defining feature of this product, of these spoons, is that they are 3 inches. We also have a lot of terms that are 3 inch, 3 in, 3 space, 3 dash, all the different possible ways that someone might be searching for this product. Okay, the next thing that I want to point out here is that we set a bid the same for every keyword when we're first starting out, and then we let our software make adjustments once it starts to get data. Now, we start these bids off usually at about 10 to 20% of the gross profit of an individual ASIN. So to do that calculation, we are taking the retail price and subtracting out the cost of goods, Amazon FBA fees, Amazon's commission, and other miscellaneous fees in there to get that gross profit number. And then we take 10 to 20% of that and start the bid there. And then, like I said, adjust once we get data. Basically, if you don't do this, if your advertising isn't reflecting the actual gross profit of every single ASIN in your portfolio, it's kind of useless in order to understand performance and whether or not campaigns are actually profitable and that kind of thing. Let's see how ChatGPT does with its own strategy. I can put this full prompt in the description. You could definitely go into more detail with this. That wasn't guiding or leading ChatGPT in any way to give it the best chance of kind of showing what it can do if you're someone who, say, doesn't have a lot of knowledge in Amazon PPC. Discover new high converting search terms, right? So it's using the broad match as discovery. I told it that. It has a budget of $200 for these 7 days. Generate as many profitable sales as possible, and keep ACOS reasonable. Now, I didn't tell it what ACOS to aim for. This is a key point, right? I want it to tell me what it thinks is a reasonable ACOS. You need to give me a comprehensive list of non-branded broad match keywords, default bid recommendations, and a daily campaign budget, whatever else it suggested. Finally, from there, I'm going to be giving it the performance every single day, once a day, and having it do an analysis and then tell me what to do, and I'll do it, and we'll see how it goes. Next, it said, okay, great, I'm ready. Give me what you got. Then after that, I gave it competitors, which are number 2, 3, and 4 in the organic results for the keyword 1,000 tasting spoons, which is really the highest search volume term for this product. This product is currently number 1 on that SERP. And then I gave it 3 of the next ranked. That's this ASIN, and then this one, and then this one. I gave it the title and bullet points from each of those listings. So now it's doing phase 1. It's reiterating its goals. It gave me 15 keywords. Okay. And it actually gave me some fairly long tail keywords. We've got white plastic sample spoons and ice cream tasting spoons. And I could have prompted it and told it to, pay close attention to search volume and like scrape the web or look, what's going on with helium-10, something like that. But I didn't, and it didn't do any of that. Okay. So if you are using ChatGPT for keyword research, keep in mind, you need to be very, very specific in what you want and have it tell you also why it's doing things, right? So I think this is kind of already a fail on ChatGPT's part. And it only gave me 15. So I have now 15 chances to get this right. If none of these are going to convert well, I'm screwed. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, they're not unreasonable, okay? And then it gave me a bid. I don't know what this bid is based on. I don't know why it chose this bid. It did not tell me why it chose these bids, why some are higher than others, why 85 cents is the cap or the top end of the range and 70 cents is the bottom. I don't know. Remember, we're starting our bids off at about 10 to 20% of the profit margin of this ASIN, and we'll adjust from there up or down. But for this, I have no idea where these numbers are coming from. Next, it gave me a daily budget recommendation. This is fine. I don't see anything particularly wrong with that. Then it tells me to do 1 campaign, 1 ad group, and broad match only. I would absolutely agree with this. No placement adjustments. That's what we do too. I would agree with that. And then down only, which is what we do as well. I didn't give it any kind of additional prompting. It just suggested that. It suggested a campaign name. I already used a different one. I'm not too worried about that. Don't do product targeting, keywords only. Also agree with that. Keep that in a separate campaign. And then no negatives to start. We'll start adding negatives later on day 3, it says, which I would also agree with. That's exactly what I did when I created this GPT campaign. We've got 15 keywords that it recommended. Those are all in here at the bids that it recommended. So on some of these, it's reasonable. On some of these, it's quite high. So here, for example, 80 cents on this is aggressive. And here, it's a bit low, right? So it clearly did not have access to that information or consider that information. It sort of seems like this is more or less random numbers based on like an average cost per click across Amazon. I'm not sure. It didn't tell me. I guess I could ask it, but I kind of just want to keep it straight and simple and do exactly what it's telling me to do. All right. I'm going to check back tomorrow and see what's happening in the campaigns, see what our software is doing, and then also feed any performance data into ChatGPT to get its suggestions and next steps. I'll see you there. So here I am in the control experiment campaign. You can see that we have a very, very low number of impressions here, and we had 1 click. So we've spent 59 cents, which is definitely far below what we would like to be spending. So what this means, of course, is that our bids were sort of below the auction thresholds, and we just weren't bidding enough to be competitive in the auction. So it looks like our software has already raised bids across the board. Now, these might actually still be too low given what these suggested bids are showing over here, but I'm going to let it do its thing and sort of see what happens. So that's pretty much it for this control campaign. I don't think I would change anything else. We could adjust the parameters within our software to be more aggressive, but we always try to kind of go low and then go high, especially for a brand new campaign. It can take some time for Amazon to actually get the data and do something with it. So I'm just going to let it do its thing here in the control control campaign. Now, let's go over to the ChatGPT campaign. This campaign also has low impressions. These bids were also likely too low, which makes me feel a little bit like, we're probably not going to have too much happening in the control over the next 24 hours either. But you know what? Let's see. Let's let the software do its thing. Now, I've gone ahead and I have exported this data into a spreadsheet. It just looks like this. It's just sort of summarizing the data. And then I went over to the same chat. I gave it the CSV, and here's the data for day 2, about 24 hours after setup. It did some analysis, summarizing the data, organizing the data, using code here to check which keywords had impressions, clicks, or spend. Here it summarized the data. So no traffic or spend yet. Only 6 out of 15 keywords received any impressions at all. So it's saying we're likely below auction thresholds, which is accurate. Increase each bid by 15 cents. Okay, so that's all that it recommends to do. Let's check back in another 24 hours and hopefully we'll have some more data to look at. First here, I'm taking a look at the control campaign. It looks like we did get some more impressions than yesterday. This is still relatively low. We've spent $6, so we do still have a long way to go, though I can see that the software has raised bids pretty significantly, and we are actually getting pretty close to Amazon's suggested bids at this point. So certainly started things off way too low, but that's okay. Like I said, we always want to start low and then go high. We do have a 22% ACOS right now. We did get an order actually, so that is pretty positive. That's really a testament to things. One, the listing quality for this particular ASIN is high. It has good ratings and a lot of reviews, so conversion rate is already pretty solid for this. But also the keyword research, right? So if you remember, ChatGPT only gave us 15 possible keywords that we could convert on or bid on. But you remember we have 290 after going through our full keyword research process, and that just gives us a lot more shots on goal. So I do think that that is part of what's happening here. Okay, so let's go over to the ChatGPT campaign. Still really, really low impressions. Again, I'm going to kind of chalk that up to the keyword research and the quality of keywords that we have in this campaign. But that's the experiment here. I want to see what ChatGPT can do, what it recommends, and see how it goes. So I've already gone ahead and exported this data. The CSV that I'm going to upload looks like this. So it's doing some analysis. Here's what it says now. 7 keywords have received impressions. We basically have nothing happening. Aggressively raise bids again. Raise everything by 25 cents. Now this is kind of interesting to me that it's raising everything by a set dollar amount. And it works. It's a strategy. You know, usually though, if I was running something manually, I would actually raise it by a percentage rather than the dollar amount, but it doesn't really matter too much. So look at the placement reports in a few days. I can go ahead and give it that data. But first, I'm going to raise bids by 25 cents across the board. Let's take a look at the placement data since it was asking for that. This is very limited data, but we are getting more impressions in product pages. So it could be a thing, you know, later on to adjust there. And I'm just curious now, actually, in the control campaign, if our software has adjusted anything based on this data. It looks like not yet. It's probably just because, I mean, we just have one order. So it's a little bit early to make any decisions there. So that has not been adjusted yet. But it does look like most of the impressions are showing up in product pages as well over in this control campaign. So that's interesting. All right. Well, I guess that's it for day 3. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. First, here I am in our control campaign. So it looks like there is a little bit of spend happening now, and it's actually looking pretty good. So the overall ACOS is around 20%. That's pretty good. I went ahead and sorted things by orders. It's going pretty well. I can tell bids have already been adjusted. Some of them are still kind of like hanging out, waiting for data. Yeah, and if we sort by impressions here, we can kind of see what's getting impressions. This has clicks and no sales, but only 2 clicks. So it looks like that should be getting adjusted pretty quick here. All right, so you can see that the software has put in some multipliers for both top of search and rest of search. So even though product pages is getting a lot of impressions, it's not really getting a lot of clicks. And so it looks like that's still maintaining 0 there. Let's head over to the ChatGPT campaign. Unfortunately, it looks like we still have no spend, no sales, and very, very low impressions. I think that basically these are never going expect to convert, or they're very unlikely to actually convert. So I'm going to not only give it the data from the campaign today, but I'm going to also tell it what I think about its keyword research. I'm concerned that the keywords that you selected have a low search volume. Do you think it might make sense to revise the keyword research for this campaign? So let's expand the keywords. Okay, so now it's giving me more keywords to input. Oh, it actually says to pause the current campaign and launch a new campaign with this list. Okay, I'm going to help ChatGPT out a little bit here. Again, this doesn't make any sense. There's no such thing as dead weight keywords. You can have up to 10,000 keywords in a campaign and nothing's going to happen. This doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'm going to help it a little again here. That's a little scary if you were just taking ChatGPT's advice, just taking it blindly, then I think that you would probably not have a good time. I think that you would be in trouble. I think that you would continue to have those same kind of null results. Okay, I'm going to go and add these keywords in there right now. It didn't say to raise the bids on those existing keywords. It said just leave them. It's like just abandon those keywords. They were bad. So I'm going to go ahead and add these in, and then we'll come back tomorrow and see if that did anything. First, taking a look here at the control experiment, we've spent around $80 and we've had 20 orders. We have a 14% ACOS, so things are looking pretty good. Let's go take a look at what is actually converting and what's happening. Yeah, it looks like things are pretty spread out, but it looks like most of the spend is going to the broad term Little Spoon. And so, of course, that results in different kinds of search terms: ice cream, Little Spoon for tasting, Little Taster Spoon, etc. So that one has been going really well for us. Everything's going pretty good. I don't think I would change much in the negative targeting. I think that what you'll see is, if we look at the search terms here, you'll see that, anything that's had a conversion is getting negated. That is correct. So we've got a bid adjustment there on top of search happening. I mean, the ACOS is great, and that's where most sales are coming from. So that is awesome. Let's go take a look at the ChatGPT run campaign. Pretty bad. We've had no spend and no sales at all, and we've had 700 impressions. Even though the bids are in some cases even higher than what we're bidding, it's just like it really missed the mark on the keywords. So here are the results. It is analyzing things and seeing what happened on the keyword level, which is good. That's what it should be doing. But we have a serious under-delivery issue. Yeah, I'll say. Even after adding higher volume keywords, which I don't really know how it determined what the search volume was on those. But anyway, there's a campaign level issue. Double check the default bid strategies. Dynamic bids down only. It certainly is. Check if the campaign budget is uncapped. Yes, it is. Keyword competition is fiercer than it appears. Suggested bid ranges in your reports are often misleadingly low. Or it could be a keyword problem. So even if you're bidding, if Amazon thinks your listing isn't relevant, this is especially harsh for broad match. That can be true. Listing optimization matters. That's true. But as you can see with the control campaign, we're not having any problems with conversion. Increase your top 20 keywords by another 25 cents. Okay, so now it's telling me to add in more keywords and add a top of search adjustment of 50%. Let me talk to it a little bit here. But I do need to clarify this because I'm a little bit unsure which keywords need an increase and what. Okay, so it's saying these keywords I'll increase the bid on. So basically anything with impressions, it's saying increase by 25 cents. Oh, this is the wrong one. And we're going to increase the bid by 25 cents and then do our placement modifier. All right, and then I will add a 50% placement modifier for top of search as it suggested. And then I will go in and add these 10 new keywords. It's funny because it is still missing out on the best keyword that we discovered in this campaign, which is Little Spoon. I feel like I'm holding out on ChatGPT, but this is the whole point of this. So I'll add in these new keywords and we'll see what happens tomorrow. First, I'm here in the control experiment campaign. So we've spent about $107. We've gotten quite a few sales at this point. So 74 clicks, that has resulted in 21 orders. So looking pretty good at an 18% ACOS. The software is continuing to make adjustments as needed, but it looks like it's holding pretty steady now as we continue to get data and continue to get more and more clicks. Overall, it's performing well. I don't think I would really change anything. We've made some adjustments for the multipliers though. It looks like the software has increased top of search slightly and reduced the multiplier on the other two placements. Looks like they're not performing quite as well, and top of search is really where the money is. So it has made adjustments there. So here we can see that has increased top of search and reduced the multiplier on the other two. Makes sense due to the performance over here. So let's go take a look at the ChatGPT led campaign. Okay, finally we have some spend happening. That's great. It's actually looking not too bad. We have a 19% ACOS in this campaign and an 18% ACOS in our campaign. So, I mean, performance overall is not too bad. And I mean, really, it's pretty good conversion rate in general for this product. It's finally doing something. So, it looks like we've had 4 orders in this campaign so far, and 2 of them are for plastic tasting spoons. If we go and take a look at the search terms, extra sturdy. So I'm going to go ahead and export this for the search terms, and I've already exported the targeting level data, and I'm also going to go ahead and export the bid adjustment data. So I'm going to go ahead and give ChatGPT all of these results. So here we've got top of search spend driving most of the results, which is what we've seen in our control campaign as well. So that makes sense. You finally broke through. Yes, I did. Conversions, cost per click is high, but conversions are efficient. Yeah, that's okay. We've got some search terms that are coming through that looks good. Raise the bids on these top performers. Okay, so it's saying to raise the bids quite a bit on these, which I can see why it wants to do that, but I don't necessarily think that would be the move that I would do. I would actually probably just let everything keep going as is since performance is looking pretty good, but I'm going to follow its advice and see what happens tomorrow. And then it says to go ahead and add exact match negatives on these because they have 0 orders and a high cost per click. So it's telling me mini spoons for desserts and sample spoons. Let's do last 65, and I'm going to include the cost per click in here just so we can see. This is showing that I have a $2.17 cost per click. That is high, but I've only had 1 click. So in my opinion, this is not something that I would negate, especially after only 1 click. So I absolutely disagree with that advice, but I will do it because this is for science. Okay. If tomorrow they still haven't converted, pause or negate, which again, I don't really think that this is a good idea. And then it's saying to add these as exact match keywords. Would definitely agree with that. Remove them and put them into their own campaign. However, ChatGPT is suggesting to add these as exact matches in the same campaign. This is a huge mistake. It'd be terrible for your data analysis in the future, and it's just terrible practice. You really need to make sure that you are following proper structure, which includes separating out match types into their own campaigns because they have very different places within your strategy. So I highly disagree with this. This is what it's saying to do, so I will do this, but please never do this. This is a very bad practice. We'll see what happens tomorrow. This is the last and final day of this experiment, and I'm excited to see kind of final results here and also share with you my big takeaways on how to potentially use AI and in particular ChatGPT if you want to use it for help with your Amazon PPC. You can see here across both of these campaigns, we've spent about $180. So that's pretty close to the $200 that I was planning to spend for this experiment. So I think we're probably pretty safe to call it at this point, and it has been 7 days. So just off the bat here, you can see that the ChatGPT campaign, while it did finally start getting impressions, the cost per click is quite high. The ACOS is high. Didn't get very many clicks or impressions overall in comparison to the control campaign. Basically, ChatGPT just super failed, I think, in this experiment. But let's go take a look at what happened from day 6 to day 7. Okay, so I've got the control experiment campaign open here. Every single one of these has already been optimized by the software. Bids are going down where ACOS is looking bad, and it's performing quite well with that overall, sub 20% ACOS, sales looking pretty good, cost per click, around $1.50. Not that that matters too much. It's really more about the conversion. Conversion rate looks quite good. These are pretty typical results, right, for when we run campaigns. And for the control campaign, taking a look at the bid adjustments, it looks like majority of sales are coming from top of search. So we do have a bid adjustment multiplier for top of search, but the other two placements, it has been lowered down to 0. And it looks like, the performance there is just simply not as good. Even though there's a lot of impressions for product pages, it's just not really converting. So we're boosting top of search, which makes sense. So let's head over to the ChatGPT experiment. I actually got the bid adjustments open here. So let's talk about this since we're already here. So ChatGPT recommended a 50% bid multiplier on top of search, which I would definitely not recommend doing. It caused the cost per click to just go really, really high, and for the campaign overall to have a pretty high ACOS, and particularly this top of search placement. And so I really think that that was a big mistake on ChatGPT's part. But okay, let's go and look at the targeting here. So I've got lifetime or last 65 days, and you can see overall the ACOS is 36%. So not as bad as the 50% for top of search, but we do have, some relatively poor performance just with low sales overall. Not really a whole lot happening, right? For 7 days, you would definitely expect a lot more, closer to what we saw in our control campaign. Let's let it go ahead and say the recommendations that it would make. And then I'm also, since we're wrapping this up today, I'm also just going to ask it to sort of reflect on its performance. Day 7, please tell me your recommendations. And then I'm going to tell it that this is actually the last day. So then we'll reflect on that. But I'm curious to what it will say based on these results. I'm hoping it will say something like that bid multiplier needs to come down. And I mean, honestly, these keywords are just not good. But I'm curious as to what it says about potentially adjusting the bids or if it has any suggestions like that. So, okay, so it's analyzed the data here, and top of search is still dominant, but product pages is not converting. It's got notes here on our winning search terms that have the best ACOS. We've got some underperformers. So it's saying raise bids on the winners. So it's saying to hold on this one, but for these to potentially raise the bids. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know if we necessarily need to do that. And then move these over into exact match. Would absolutely agree with that. But again, it says move them into exact match within this campaign. Oh yeah, I forgot that it said that yesterday. So, okay, we've got match type in there already. Okay, none of the exacts have been performing at all. Yeah, okay, so these aren't doing anything at all. Yeah, anyway, it just really hurts my soul to have these mixed match types, but it's saying to add these to the same campaign. Never ever do that, but that's what it's suggesting. So it's saying to add tiny plastic spoons as negative. And it looks like it had 1 click and no sales. So I would not negate this. There's no reason to negate this. This is a very, very relevant term. This is exactly what this product is, right? So I would not negate that. That doesn't make any sense, but that's what it's suggesting. And it's also suggesting to negate this one. Again, 1 click and no sales. So yeah, man, if you kept going with these recommendations, I think you're going to have a very, very bad time. It's saying to negate terms that haven't even had a chance to convert. It's telling you to add these as an exact in the same campaign, which is just going to give you super muddy data. And then it's telling you to raise some bids, but it's not addressing, for example, the fact that the placement modifier is contributing greatly to this high ACOS, right? I'm going to wrap it up now. I'm going to tell it, hey, this is the last day of me running this campaign. It was sort of an experiment. Can you please give me your final thoughts? It's saying broad match did its job. I actually completely disagree with that. I don't think that it utilized the broad match appropriately. I don't think that it did good keyword research. I think that while these phrases might have good conversion rates, I think that the best use of broad is to bid on, for example, small spoon, and then let these come through in the search terms and then move those over into exact campaigns, to their own campaigns. Multiple sales with ACOS under 10% and most under 30%. That is true. That's okay. That was okay. Top of search performed best, but it did not perform well. It had a 50% ACOS, right? So not good. What ChatGPT would do differently? Launch with larger keyword set, 40 to 50. Again, we did 290, so I would expand that even further. Start with higher bids. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that we ran into that in our own campaign as well, so that's true. Add a small exact match ad group early. Disagree. Give it its own campaign. Then adjust things sooner. That's true. We were only making adjustments every 24 hours, which it's true that is a little bit unfair to ChatGPT because our software is making changes much more frequently than that, actually every single hour. 2 campaign structure, 1 broad, 1 exact. Yeah, you should definitely be doing that. Segment by intent. I don't think this is going to make any bit of a difference. And sponsored brands. Okay. So, sorry, I have to laugh because that doesn't make any sense at all. Okay. So here's my takeaway and my reflection on this whole experiment. Basically, ChatGPT is only going to be as good as the person operating it and the person prompting it and its knowledge base. ChatGPT does not know really anything about running Amazon PPC campaigns, unfortunately. Now, can it help you to maybe analyze your results and summarize things? Yeah, I think that it probably can. But when it comes to decision making, you absolutely need a human who knows what they're doing. Otherwise, the strategy is all over the place and the implementation makes no sense at all. So if you are thinking about using ChatGPT or any sort of AI to help you run your PPC campaigns, just be really careful. And I would recommend to have a person overseeing what you're doing, a knowledgeable human person who knows about Amazon PPC that can help you make good decisions, because unfortunately, ChatGPT just is not really capable of doing that. And on a similar note, if you have software that is utilizing AI to make decisions on campaigns, be really careful about how it is doing that. What is the actual algorithm behind those decisions and adjustments that it is recommending? Thanks so much for watching. This was really, really fun. I would love to do more videos like this. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, tell me in the comments. Otherwise, go ahead and subscribe for more Amazon related content. Thanks.